7 o'clock early, huh? Good. We used to, you like the early start. Especially in the winter. Most communities start and stuff.
Well, good evening. Can we please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Cochee.
Here.
Spinks. Here. Janutus.
Here.
Fluharty.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Asbury.
Here.
Saunders.
Here. Council, you have the minutes of the work session of September 5th, 2023. Any corrections to that? Seeing none, can I have a motion for acceptance? By Spinks, seconded by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Cochee.
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Janutus.
Yes.
Fluharty.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Asbury.
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes. And you have the minutes of the regular meeting of September 5th, 2023. Any corrections to that? Seeing none, can I have a motion for acceptance by Asbury, second by Smith? Call the roll, please.
Cochee.
Yes.
Spinks.
Yes.
Janutus.
Yes.
Fluharty.
Yes.
Smith.
Here.
Asbury.
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes. And we're going to have a presentation, and standing in for our school superintendent, Dr. Johnson, is Tad Ellsworth, who is the Executive Director of Operations. So, sir, if you come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for having me tonight. As Mayor said, I am Tad Ellsworth. I am the Executive Director of Operations for the Bedford City School District. I've been with Bedford a little over a year now. Before that, I spent 20 years almost as the business manager in Canton City Schools, about an hour south of here. The reason I'm coming tonight is I want to talk a bit about what we're calling our Building a Brighter Future program. Before I get started, I am required to advocate for or against the passage of a levy or bond issue. The information I'm providing is merely factual regarding the state of the district's buildings and finances. So one of the first things I noticed when I came here from Canton was that the district has not upgraded its facilities in some time. Bedford City School District has aging facilities, with the oldest building, Central, being 114 years old, and the newest building, Heskett, is 58 years old, older than me. Average age is 74 years. So one of the things that we talked about was, what do we do about this? The district had been fits and starts looking at a facilities plan over the years. So first look was back in 2007. Of course, then we had the recession in 2008. Then they again looked in 2018. Of course, then COVID hit. And so we started up a new facilities committee made up of residents of the community, of the 4 municipalities that make up the Bedford City School District. The committee was over 50 residents strong, with parents, staff, business people. And we met for over 6 months. We had a number of meetings, and we hired an architect, GPD Group, to help us craft a master facilities plan. So this plan, which was recommended to the Board of Education back in May, includes a new high school with expanded career and technical education opportunities, including cosmetology, video production, visual communication, graphic design, engineering, and biotechnology. One of the things that we've heard, is that many residents are not happy with the current state of career tech, and so it is our hope to be able to improve that dramatically and have some of our own programs in-house again that went away when we joined the consortium. One of the big programs is expanded preschool opportunities. We currently have a large waiting list, and we have to turn families away because we don't have enough space at Central and Glendale to house the number of preschool programs. As we know, as I think you all know, early education is critically important. When our buildings were built, it was a very different time and different climate. With new buildings, we designed the buildings with safety being the #1 priority. That is something that was not considered in 1950s or early 1900s as something that would unfortunately be needed, but it is something that we have to look to. We're looking at a school-based health clinic, so we can actually provide real healthcare services in our schools. These are all things that were part of the recommendation. The plan will rebuild, we'll build brand new buildings, 4 new buildings to replace 6. And this is based on the building assessment that was done by the Ohio Facility Construction Commission. The Ohio Facilities Construction Commission did an assessment both of the cost of renovation and of building new. Their study estimated that the cost of renovating our current facilities would be over $224 million. They would not contribute anything to renovations. They have a hard rule that if the cost of renovation is more than 2/3 the cost of building new, that you don't build new. They will only support, or you don't renovate, they will only support building new. As you may know, most of the surrounding communities have new schools already. They've already participated either in the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, or they've done their own new building plan. As I said, the state will not fund any renovation of our schools, but if we participate with them in their construction program, which would build new schools, they will fund 21% of the project, approximately $32 million, a little over $32 million of state money in addition to school money. The Board of Education did vote back in June and July. They had 2 votes to put a bond issue on the ballot. It is a $161 million, 9.9 mil bond issue. Our municipal advisor tells us that the cost per day for every $100,000 in home valuation is under $1, approximately 95 cents. And of course, it goes without saying, but the bond issue proceeds can only be used for the construction of the new facilities and the preparation of the sites. It cannot be used for salary and benefits. This is not an operating levy. This is purely for the construction of new facilities. Facilities are a special thing for me, school facilities. When I left the mayor's office in Canton and went to join Canton City Schools, we were just kicking off our, what we called a Design for the Future plan in Canton. We rebuilt 19 school buildings in the course of my career in Canton City Schools. It absolutely has an effect on learning. It absolutely has an effect on how students feel about the schools that they're in. It shows that we care, and so it is something that is near and dear to me. It is also fiscally responsible. The current condition of our facilities is such that we are constantly chasing leaks. We still have steam boilers. Not all of our buildings are air conditioned. As summers get warmer and we start in the middle of the summer, it becomes difficult to hold school. So that is the reason why the committee was put together and why it was recommended to the board to put this bond issue on the ballot. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, I have a question. Why hasn't this been disseminated to the residents? Because in my ward, I went out personally just to see. People ask me, what are you talking about? So this hasn't been disseminated properly to the residents of the city. And so I don't know, and right now you're behind the 8 ball. I mean, you have a month and a half to get this thing done. I still haven't seen anything advertising this or yard signs, nothing. None of this has come out. So when is this gonna happen?
Well, it just so happens that I do have some information that I'm going to bring up and share with all of you. There is a bond committee, a bond issue committee. It's called the BCSD Communities for Excellence Committee. There will be an issue for bond issue community forum on September 5th at 6 p.m. That'll be hosted at our oldest facility, Central School, or just not that far from here.
October, September, that's where we go.
I'm sorry, September 25th, did I misspeak?
Yeah, 25th, there you go.
And also, this weekend, we are going to have a fall festival for our families. That is something that we did last year. It was a great success, so I have a flyer about that. And our superintendent will be speaking at the beginning of that and giving a State of Schools address. It will also have some information there. You know, I can't really speak too much to what the levy committee is doing in this forum, but I can say there is a committee and things are happening, and that there will be communications out in the community very shortly.
I just have one question regarding the plan. And I know where the new schools would be, and then the utilization of the Chanel site
Yes.
for middle school and intermediate. Is the admin building staying on the current site across
No.
the street, or does that move to?
Yeah, and I can give you a brief description. I didn't want to get too much into the
Okay, I'm
weeds of the
sorry.
plan. No, it's fine.
Only because I heard two different. and I
Yes,
just
so
wanted to be
I will briefly outline the plan. So the plan will be to build a new middle school on the Chanel site. At the middle school will also be a new administration wing for the district administration. And I'll get to the reason why that is in a moment. The current administration was built in 1960. It's not the greatest in the world, but that's not the reason why we're rebuilding administration. In order to accommodate building the high school on the current site, which is what the committee recommended, is that the high school be built on the current site. We need to be able to have room to build it while school is in session. So once the new middle school is built, and also the new pre-K2 building, which will be behind the current Heskett Middle School, we will tear down the administration building as well as the north house of the high school, so that we can build on the new high school on the north half of the property. All the students will be moved to the south house during that construction period. And then we will also, the plan also calls for a new 3-5 building on the current Columbus site. However, the 3-5 school will not happen until we get our state money. And we can't tell you when that'll be because the state won't tell us when it'll be. We are part of what's called the Expedited Local Partnership Plan. This is for school districts who haven't quite gotten to the list, to the CFAP, I'm sorry, that's the School Construction Facilities Assistance Program, Classroom Facilities Assistance Program. That's when you actually get your money, but we're 476th on the list of school districts. The reason for that is our assessed valuation per pupil is actually quite high compared to many districts in the state. When I started in Kansas City, we were number 1 or 2 on the list. So it's been some time. However, most school districts ahead of us have already done it, so it's really just a matter of state funding and when they get to us on the list. But when we try to get them pinned down as to is it 5 years, is it 8 years, they won't tell us that because it's really dependent on state budget.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if I heard you correctly, but you mentioned both a levy and a bond issue?
It's only this is only a bond issue. I apologize if I misspoke and said levy. It is only a bond issue. This is not an operating levy. So the bond issue is the county auditor will only collect what is necessary to pay the debt service on those bonds.
Do you anticipate an operating levy in the spring?
This spring? No, absolutely not. I am not the treasurer, so I don't want to speak too closely about finances, but certainly not in the next couple of years do I foresee an operating levy. I'm not saying that there will be one in a couple of years. We just don't know at this point, but our finances are quite good right now.
I want to ask you this because a lot of people have mentioned this to me, and I just am curious. This seems like a lot of money, and in large part because it's such a large project. And I suppose that one would think, it might wonder why this couldn't be done incrementally in more, instead of all at once. Although there has been some type of commentary that there's an obligation to do it all at once rather than incrementally. Is that correct?
Well, if you're asking for an opinion, that is my opinion, that doing it all at once is the right thing to do for our students. And the reason I say that is the condition of our facilities is such that it's a matter of equity. If we continue to put money into old buildings that were not designed for 21st century education, none of our buildings are suitable for the kinds of things that we're trying to prepare our kids to do in the future. When these buildings were built, there was no such thing as the internet or cell phones. It's a different environment. And they were built at a time when education was industrialized. You were on rows of desks and someone stood in front and lectured to you. That is not the way education is conducted today. It's not the way it's recommended to be done by educators. Now, I'm not an educator, but I've been in the education business for quite some time. So yes, I believe that doing it all at once is the right thing to do. The fact is, just kicking the can down the road from 2018 to now, of course, no one could have foreseen COVID, but the inflationary costs of construction during that period raised the cost by $40 to $50 million just by waiting 4 or 5 years. I don't know what inflation is going to do in the future, but you're going to pay for these costs one way or the other because these buildings need renovation. If we don't build new, I've got to put, for example, every building in the district needs new roofs. And a new roof at the high school is probably $5 million by itself. We don't have air conditioning in most of our facilities.
But it's not a state requirement to do this all at once.
It is not a state requirement, but the state assessment did recommend that all the facilities be rebuilt.
So thank you.
Yes.
What is the time frame for the entire plan? I mean, if you stated, I think that the 3 through 5 school wouldn't be done until the state provided money. We don't know when that is. Could be 8 years or so. How does that fit into?
Yeah. So the way, if everything goes smoothly, I expect that when the levy passes in November, when the bond issue passes in November, that we will immediately select a design architect. The first year will probably be spent in design, where we meet with residents, with officials, with teachers, with students, to design our new facilities, design the middle school and the pre-K2 building. So then I would expect construction to start early in 25 then at that point. And that should take about 2 years for those first 2 buildings. While those are being built, we would work on the design for the high school. I've seen smaller size buildings go up in a year and a half, but 2 years is a safer assumption. And so then we're into 27 when we could start the high school. So we will demo all of the existing elementaries at that point, as well as the administration building. The 3rd through 5th grade students will spend a little bit of money in Heskett to make it appropriate for the 3rd through 5th grade students. They will go in there while we're waiting for the new 3-5 building to be done. And again, we don't know how long that's going to be, so we are going to spend a little bit of money to make sure that that building is appropriate for 3rd through 5th graders. The advantage this gives us is significant operating savings right away by consolidating our buildings down from 6 buildings to 4. We save money on transportation, we save money on administration, we save money on custodial costs, we save money on secretaries. So this pushes any potential operating levy, which of course, you know, the way schools are funded in the state of Ohio is an inevitability, not a question of if but when. But you know, what it allows us to do is get all of our kids in these great bands together. It allows collaboration among our students, and it allows, of course, the significant savings in operating costs. High school should take about 2 to 2.5 years to complete, I would expect. We're looking at 28-29 school year for completion of that phase. Now again, the state money could come at any point, we won't know. But we will be ready to go because we'll work on the design once we're done with the design for the high school. And we'll have the lot ready to go. We will prepare it for construction by taking down that building. We'll basically make sure we mow it during the summer months and until we wait for the new building.
And one more real quick, if the the bond issue does pass in November, that starts being assessed as of January for 24 tax year?
Yes, yes, it starts in January. Now, depending on, you know, our schedule, the taxpayers may not see all of it come at once because that first year we won't be spending a lot of money. So the auditor we will only issue bonds for the money that we need to have. Now, once we begin construction, we will have to have all the money for those schools we're building. But again, we won't borrow more than we need to at any given time. So the taxpayers will only they will see it come in stages. They won't see the full effect on their tax bill probably until we get started on the high school. Because again, we don't need to borrow all that money all at once.
Thank you.
Sure.
If it doesn't pass in November, would you put it on the ballot in May?
Well, that would not be my decision, but if I were the decision maker, I would, yes. Because I truly believe that this is a need, not a want. You know, like I said, these are aging buildings. You're going to pay for HVAC and roofs and upgrading classrooms to modern standards. You're going to pay for it one way or the other. Either it's going to come from a bond issue or we're going to have more operating levies sooner so that we can keep these buildings open for our kids, which we have an obligation to do. Yes.
One quick safety point, you know, you've got schools like Central where the boilers are underneath the classrooms and that's a potential bomb, which the state doesn't permit. So there's a lot of significance in these old buildings that really are a real problem. I was part of the committee during this whole time too, but it's one of those things where you're either going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later, and if you're going to rehab an old building, you still have an old building as opposed to a new building, which is one, you're going to save on utilities too, because the energy efficiency on the new buildings are much, much better too. So it's one of those where you got to look at your pocketbook and say, what can I afford and what can I not afford? So good luck.
Thank you, Councilman. And I would also point out that none of our buildings are ADA compliant. They were all built before that existed, and we're grandfathered. But once we renovate or once we build, of course, we're no longer grandfathered. So no matter what we do, we would have to spend money to bring them up to ADA compliance, which is something we should do, by the way. But just, you know, there's no avoiding these costs. It's just a matter of when and what form they take. And again, the state estimated $224 million for renovations, and we're asking the taxpayers for $161 million. It's over $60 million that we're trying to save the taxpayers by building in.
Ed, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to leave this information up here for you if you don't mind.
Yeah, you just put it in the corner.
Over here. Thank you.
If you can see, we're ready for the Browns tonight. We hope it's going to be a big night for them. That doesn't mean we're going to rush through our meeting just so we can get to the game. I did record it, so I don't have to worry about that. But we have no old business tonight, so we will get on with reports. Mr. Malice.
Thank you, Mayor. Just have a few items real quickly. Up here on the counter, as well as coming in your mail, is the Parks and Recreation Fall Brochure. So if you want to grab up one there, if not, you should receive it maybe actually this week. A lot of good programming in there for all ages, special event, health clinics going on, fall event for the children down at Ellenwood. Take a look at it. And kudos to the staff for getting that and coordinating all the programs. As well as, I know I mentioned our fall Halloween event at the Ellenwood Center. We are also having a Children's Fall Fest on October 7th, and that will be on the Commons. That starts at 9 a.m. Chipper service ends next month, October, first full week of the month, and that'll be the last time the service is offered for the remainder of the year. Fire department, we are conducting interviews this week. We have 2 current vacancies that we're working to fill. We are working off a lateral transfer list, and we hopefully will be having a swearing in the near future for that. And just wanted to give a quick thank you to everyone that stopped out to last week's TLCI, the connectivity meeting at Ellenwood. The turnout was great. Speaking with an OACA representative, he even indicated, he goes, sometimes you get 5, 10, 15 people at these meetings. We had a packed house. Hopefully we'll have a packed house at the next meeting, which will move into the gymnasium. So that turnout was great. And you know, if you go on the city's website, right on the homepage, there is under the quick links, there's a tab there. If you click on that tab, it'll take you to a whole separate page, little outline of that meeting, as well as the survey is still up. We want public feedback. So again, if you get a chance and you can't make one of those meetings, stay up to date, the information available on the website. And then the next meeting is, I don't know if it's scheduled or not. It looks to be in November. November? Okay. Next public meeting for that will be in November. And also stay tuned we'll be sending something out on our website and social media for a public meeting to discuss the Bedford Commons expansion project. So that'll be coming up in October, where we'll schedule that meeting. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Law Director.
Thank you, just welcome, thank everybody for coming. I have no report tonight.
Ms. Howland.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Spinks.
Good evening, everybody, and go Browns. I saw a couple of things on Facebook, and I've seen a few, noticed that there is abundance of cats being dropped off, dumped, because at one time we had a couple of streets in my wards that were just filled with feral cats, which is very sad because there's, feral cats, it's hard, you can't find them a home. So it's sad because a lot of times they have to be put down and stuff. But I'm noticing kittens, cats that are not, that somebody may have got, they're friendly. There is a couple of places you can, because my correction, nothing's changed. We still don't, the city will pick up dogs, but we do not pick up cats. So I know a lot of cities have stopped doing that because of the feral cat situation, but you can, there's a couple of these out I did kind of a survey, a search, and called friends of mine and stuff that do rescue, but we no longer have the Valley Save a Pet. They don't do it anymore in our downtown area. Parma Animal Shelter, that's a no-kill, so if someone does dump off some cats, or if you know stuff, I know there was something on the Bedford Garden Club, one of the ladies here on Center Road, but it's really sad. I'm a cat lover. I don't have one because I'm allergic, and so is my husband, but it breaks my heart that, you know, we don't have nowhere. We get a dog, we can take it down to our shelter, but we don't have it here in Bedford. And also Cleveland Animal Protective League. So if you see cats around or know something, if you've heard of a neighbor or someone's been dumped, go to those two avenues, because you can drop them off there, and they have a vet there on site. I know Dr. Terry Suburban, he will every once in a while, if it's, again, not a feral cat, he will take them in. So watch out for those little kitties, because they can't watch out for themselves. So cat lovers out there, and you're not allowed to have too many animals, so don't go start adopting a bunch of stray cats. Also, Mike, are we gonna do anything with the juvenile thing on trash pickup this year? I noticed like this morning, there's areas that I'm not gonna risk my life to pick up trash with one being Rockside. Someone just dumped bags of trash this weekend. Also Center Road up by Circle K. It was pretty bad. Again, they can't, you know, it's too dangerous right in the middle of the road. So I get what I can on the tree lines, but I'm not gonna run out in the middle of traffic to pick up trash. Car haulers, are coming back down Grand. There was, this was on Saturday, there was quite, the guy tried to turn around on Grand Park Circle. And there was quite a bit of traffic because of the garage sales. And kudos to everybody, that was kind of fun. We ended up with what, 84, 87 residents? 84?
84.
Okay. I knew there was a couple pop-ups and a few people that had it on Sunday as well, so that was good. I restrained. I didn't buy anything, Bob. I stayed away. I didn't bring any more stuff home. But Mike, if you could check into that, it's the, you know which car dealership. So that was a big mess, and they last night came through. When they park on the end of Grand, and they park also on Broadway, you can't get out. You can't see to get out. It's pretty bad. They had stopped for a long time, but they're back doing it again. And with the construction going on there, it was kind of tricky. Let's see. Oh, for now all the business stuff is taken care of. So now I want to brag about the Bedford High School Marching Band. So a couple of weeks ago, I had the two band teachers, Sean and Jennifer, called me and said the festival was coming up, and they wanted to know if they could come and do their little halftime show for a couple of minutes before they were going to compete in North Royalton. There was like 200 bands competing. So I was like, sure. I was thinking, you know, okay, I'll have to push back vendors a little bit. And I was thinking, okay, they're going to show up and they're going to play their music, and it's going to be fun. It was amazing. They started off with, in the back parking lot, you could hear them. They did this chant thing, is Bedford proud of something, and they did this little dance. Then they had the flag team. It was a full halftime right there on Bedford Square. I'm not from here, but I'm here now, and I'm here to stay. And it just made me so proud of all those kids. And it was just, they filled the whole square. All the vendors came out, all the artists came out, and they played God Bless America, and then they played Thriller. They played all kind of stuff, and they went on to North Royalton and kicked butt there. So big thank you to the Bedford High School March Band. You kids are amazing. Proud of all of you, and we've got great band leaders there. Kudos to them too. So, end of report.
Thank you. Mr. Janusz.
Thank you. Yeah, the Bedford Band is great. I mean,
it's just been really wonderful for me to live near the high school and hear the band on Friday nights. And the drum corps is just phenomenal, and it's really exciting to hear the band, so that's a good part. As far as the Bedford students go, there are going to be a number of students volunteering to work at Interstate Playground on October 17th and 19th to plant native plants and pollinators organized by Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District, and I think that's a wonderful thing. In the past, Bedford High School students have volunteered to clean up Vincentian pathways behind the old convent, and it's really a wonderful thing that the students are volunteering for those things. So, it's very good. End of report.
Thank you. Mr. Fluharty?
Orange barrels are multiplying up on the hill, so drive safely and slowly. End of report.
Mr. Smith?
I'd like to just say welcome to everyone. Good to see you tonight. I see we do have School Board President Ms. Eva Boynton in the house. Thank you for coming. Look forward to seeing you or anybody else from the board at our meetings. And we greatly appreciate you guys coming out and letting us know what's really going on. Thank you. In the report.
Mr. Asbury?
Thank you, Mayor. Like Councilwoman Spinks was saying about the garage sale, it was a big success. My wife and I went out, we were out for a couple hours and bought a whole bunch of stuff that we didn't need. But we did get it at a good price, right, honey? So we filled up the truck with the back seat, everything was full. So I'm gonna have my own garage sale next year. But it was a good time, perfect weather, good time. Mike, the work on the gazebo and the depot, that's going along well?
Yep. Roof completed, they are painting, and then restroom renovations are taking place as well. The only thing that is not started yet are the electrical upgrades, and that is just due to equipment not being available yet. So we will see how that goes as far as electrical. And that, just to clarify, that is upgrading the electrical in the basement of the gazebo. We are moving forward with upgrading the sound system, the stationary sound system, and as well as acquiring the portable sound system. For all of our events, special events, we've typically always rented those. And at the last meeting, we did authorize purchasing the updated equipment. And all of that's covered at 100% through a county grant. That piece is moving forward.
Good, very good. And lastly, on a personal note, and I know I don't look old enough to have grandchildren, but my second grandson was born last Wednesday morning. Zachary Jacob Wagner came into the world, and I know, no, I'm not gonna lie, I can't, it was in the morning. But mom, baby, big brother Cameron, and dad are all doing well, so, and a report.
Good. Congratulations. Mr. Saunders?
Yes, by the way, Sandy mentioned the band. You can go to the football games and actually see them at the halftime show. And if you're a senior, you can get in for free. So it's one of those perks senior citizens can get too. But come out and support the football team too, not just the band. But they are a good band. Quick question for Mike. Have they looked at that hollow sycamore tree on Ennis yet up near Logan?
I think the arborist was out there 2 weeks ago, but I have not received a report yet.
Okay, because the residents are really worried because things have come down off of that thing. And the other one that they cut down a couple years ago was totally hollow. This one you can see through the branches that are broken off that it's hollow on the inside. So it's one of those that could pose a safety hazard. Now it's a big tree, so I know our crews can't do it. So, but it'd be good if you kept an eye on it. So anyway, the Broadway construction, if you've noticed, the sections that are done are really nice. Of course, there's still the people on the upper or southern end of, which is in Vic's ward. I almost got hit twice already because somebody's coming the wrong direction. So I know the police have been out there up near Forbes Road watching people trying to get around the sign to go north, but it does occur. So be careful if you're going southbound, because you never know when somebody will come around one of those curves and they're in your lane. That's it.
Thank you. Well, let's move on to new business. We have a motion to rename and dedicate Interstate Park as Bill Cosgrove Park. I believe it's our wish to put that on first reading. Can I have a motion for such? By Spinks, second by Fluharty. Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks,
Yes.
Janutus,
No.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
Ordinance number 74-23.
Being an ordinance providing for the adoption of new matters in the codified ordinances of Bedford to approve, adopt, and enact the May 2023 replacement pages to the codified ordinances of Bedford, to repeal certain ordinances in conflict therewith or deemed obsolete, and declaring an emergency.
A motion for suspension by Smith, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks,
Yes.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
Motion for third and final. Spinks, second by Fluharty. You want to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically, we're just, all the laws that we've passed since the first of the year, or, I'm not sure if it's since the first of the year, but recently, are now being adopted in our book. So we have to take this step to replace the old pages with the new. It seems kind of silly, but we have to do it. That's basically it.
Yeah, we do that a couple times
Yes,
a year.
a couple times a year.
Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks,
Yes.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
Ordinance number 75-23.
Enacting Chapter 751 entitled Video Surveillance Systems for Apartment Complexes of the Business Regulation and Building Code of the City of Bedford to require apartment complexes to install video surveillance systems and provide access to the Bedford Police Department from those systems.
Again, it's our wish to put this on first reading. I have a motion for such by Smith, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks,
Yes.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
And ordinance number 76-23.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Assured Partners Ohio LLC, who is the city's broker for cyber liability insurance, and declaring an emergency.
A motion for suspension by Saunders, second by Asbury. Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks,
Yes.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
Motion for third and final by Spinks, second by Janutus. Jennifer?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is simply for the renewal, to authorize the expense for the renewal of our cyber insurance policy, which renews on November 1st. It's good through next year, October 31st, 2024. And it is a 1.5% increase over last year, an amount of $31,638,000.
That protects us from all that cyber stuff. Okay. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Spinks,
Yes.
Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
Now we come to hearing of the citizens. If you wish to speak, please come forward, state your name, your address, and your comment.
Good evening. My name is Bradford McIntyre, and this is my wife Melanie McIntyre. We live at 61 Northern Drive in Ward 6. When we found out that our friend and neighbor, Harry Carter, was running for city council, we felt inspired to make shirts to wear to support him. On the morning of September 10th, my wife and I attended the memorial ceremony, which was held in Bedford Square. I am a United States Marine. The last thing I ever expected was to be approached in a very aggressive manner by Councilwoman Sandy Spinks, who informed us that this was not a day for politics and that our shirts were not allowed. My wife and I were to remove our shirts, turn them inside out, or leave the event. Due to her behavior and the scene that she was creating, we decided to take the high road and comply, as we were embarrassed and did not want to draw more attention. I'm here before council to officially request an apology for infringing upon our First Amendment rights to freedom of speech, a freedom that I served my country for and a freedom that should never be denied to any American citizen. When citizens' rights are violated, all citizens' rights are violated. Bedford, we are better than this.
Well, if you felt offended, I'm certain we would apologize. I mean, I don't think that was the intent. I don't really know what happened, but I will.
I do apologize to you, and I apologize to you that day, and it did catch me off guard because, you know, we've been doing that for about 5 years out of respect to lives that were lost on that day. 9/11 to me, I did feel it is not a political thing. I apologized. It caught me off surprise because I had never seen y'all at that event before. We've had it for several years, you know, I don't mean that in a rude way, and I did apologize to y'all to it, and when the other person showed up, I did the same thing, just sit up, and I didn't mean to be forceful. It surprised me, because that day is it's a sad day for me, and it's a sad day for everything. The mayor gets very emotional, and I'm from a family full of military. I have a niece and a nephew serving right now, and I appreciate everybody's service for that, our guys and stuff, and I did not mean it, but as that, I come to you as a friend, because I've known you, you've done stuff for the Historical Society. That is a fundraiser for the Historical Society, and we try to not, you know, when I was running, every time there was an event up there, I took my sign off the side of my car, because I think it is two separate things. I didn't, Harry, you're a friend of mine, you've been a friend of mine, and I didn't mean it as a political attack or anything. I was just kind of surprised because you do know what that day was about. And I do apologize to you for that.
I absolutely know what that day is about.
Yes.
That's why I was there to support you for the Arts and Artisans Festival,
I get it.
as we've done every year.
I get it, but I apologize if
And
I offended you
We
for
were
it.
all there
And I appreciate you serving
to
our country.
support the mayor,
Yeah.
who's a fireman, and to celebrate, or not celebrate, but to mourn
Tomorrow.
9/11. Thank you very much.
But I apologize, I do apologize if I offended you, and thank you for serving for our
Thank you
country.
very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Catherine Chaich, C-H-A-I-C-H, 671 Archer. My question is regards to the parks. Young families have been asking me what's going on with the parks. I know you said there's going to be an assessment by the park director. Can you talk about the scope of that project?
So the park by park assessment, we did, the Parks and Recreation Director did complete that. He shared that with me. The majority of that is, you know, there's a lot of different things that go into that to make sure all of either apparatuses, the ground cover, is that all compliant? There are some areas, for instance, some of the parks, the swing sets, you have to have a proper fall zone. That has changed over the years. Some of these parks were built in the 70s. Some of these fall zones don't meet the adequate radius, per se. So all of that information was put together and provided to me. I did give council a brief overview of that, but our Parks and Recreation Director is going to be coming to an upcoming work session, and we're going to get into more of that on what funds that were budgeted for this year, we did budget about $75,000 to start turning over parks, meaning some of these haven't been addressed in years, as we all know. And the idea was, okay, let's start with maybe if it's Taft or Greencroft or whichever park it is, let's start with one, and then each year we would budget accordingly. We felt that we needed to do the assessment first, because we want to make sure that they're all brought up from a compliance standpoint, from a safety standpoint. You know, there's one, I believe it is it might be the Lincoln Cows or the Greencroft Park. You know, one of them, yes, there was a broken portion of the slide. Well, if you remove that, you could close it off. We had a contractor come out that provides these pieces of equipment, and he says, you know what, you could do that, but it basically limits that apparatus, and it is well beyond its useful life. It would make sense to remove that and start over. So what we're looking to do is utilize the money that was budgeted for this year and bring as many, if not all of the different items that need to be addressed from a compliance standpoint, address those first. And then if we're able to, we're going through the budget process now, if we're in a position where we can budget next year to start directing, if we're gonna start with, if it's, the two that stick out to my mind are obviously Taft Park and Greencroft Park, do we start tackling each individual one year after year from there?
At any point, would you have residents involved, form a committee, families in that neighborhood that go to the park? At any point, would they be allowed to offer their input to the city?
Yeah, we would always welcome input. I don't think that anything that we would remove, we're not necessarily gonna just do the same thing. So we would most likely be bringing those items up individually. Let's say if next year, if it was Taft, most likely before we do anything, there's gonna be a discussion held most likely during the ward meetings. And then welcome input, this is what the plan, similar to what we're gonna be doing with the comments. You know, this is what our plan is, we welcome public feedback. So that's kind of where we're at. We're not at a point yet, you know, to redo a park, you're probably talking, you know, if you wanted to replace every piece of equipment.
Millions.
Yeah, it's
So
substantial.
there is misinformation going around that all the parks will be eliminated, everything will be centralized.
No, absolutely
So,
not.
just need to
That is
clarify that.
100% false. I'm a Parks and Recreation person, you know, I think that's important. What I will say is there is some very interesting data. I think, Jen, we were in a meeting, different topic, but we can see usage at various parks. There's companies out there that actually, which provide cell phone data. You can see their frequency, how many individuals are at different, if it's parks, if it's roadways. Some of this was discussed during the TLCI project. If you look at that data, those hot spots, a lot of that's driven by, you know, cell phone activity, things like that. There was one park that had very limited activity, and it was First Street. That apparatus was in very poor shape. We did take that offline. We're keeping that space. We're gonna be looking at putting in some benches, maybe a couple picnic tables.
A public space.
Yes, and dressing it up. But as far as the comment of we're eliminating all the parks and making everyone go to, that is 100% not accurate.
Okay, because there, like I said, there is misinformation. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that would caution people to call your council people if you have questions like that, or the city manager, so we can answer those. Instead of all the misinformation going out. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Jennifer Cuthbertson,
Stan?
58 Union Street. We've been here before about guardrails and car crashes. Last night we had another car
Well,
crash.
first, thanks for, we appreciate the signage going up. Not sure how much it's gonna help.
There was another car crash last night that was at our neighbor's house. He couldn't be here, they couldn't be here tonight. 76 Union Street. So bad that now their guardrail is gone.
too.
It's been removed. So now we have two open spots. It's a dangerous curve. There were at least two other incidents after which we
Since the
didn't.
last time we were.
that we
here, this
didn't
is
come.
about the fourth time.
So we really, really need some help on Union Street. Anything?
Yeah, I'll touch base on it. So, I mean, we don't necessarily have the guardrail that was destroyed. There was no way to keep that up, as you would see, you had seen it. So obviously, that's why it was taken away. It was taken away earlier today. You know, we don't have those to just put right back in place. I'm not saying that that won't go in place. Most likely, that one will go back. There's a lot more, as kind of I shared. We had a engineer put something together. If we were to remove all of those guardrails and put guardrails up, if we were to urge Cuyahoga County or state officials, the one thing that would happen is those guardrails would turn, curve, and go up your driveways. And the public walks would have to be eliminated. That is the current state standards. I agree that there should be some guardrails there, okay? What I don't think, I think eliminating the public walk creates an even larger hazard, because it puts individuals in the roadway walking.
I don't follow that part.
So you have to, under the current standards, there has to be space to where if a vehicle, if there's an open area of a driveway, he can't go through that driveway and continue to the front yard. The guardrail has to come around and come up your driveway a certain distance at each of those individual locations. That's what was presented to the city. I don't think that, you know, if I had to sit and give you my recommendation today, I would say that that would not be something that should be done. I don't think each of those, in adding that one and having those abutments, so what it basically protects is if a car comes around that turn and is not turning and heads into that driveway area, it's going to stop because that guardrail is going to bend around. And what that does is if you put each of them at all of those locations, which is the current state standards for guardrails, it would eliminate, you couldn't have a public walk on that whole side of Union Street. So I don't think I don't think that would be the answer. Do I think replacing the guardrail that was damaged, that is definitely something. I mean, you know, we were made aware of this late last night, early this morning. We don't have one of those where we could just go and pop a new one in, but the service department did contact what was the cost of replacing those. The driver was not impaired. Obviously it goes...
Do you have any idea what the reason was this time? Was it cell phone or?
None of that. Was not impaired, was not on a cell phone. I don't know if I should. I can talk to you after if you want me to. There is a specific, yeah. I just don't want to.
Because I know there are some people involved with this that are just contacting you to complain, and it's not anything that you have any control over.
Yeah, no,
it's almost always like 2:30, 3 o'clock after the bars close, or it's cell phones. And I don't know what the solutions are. We don't want speed bumps or anything. One person suggested maybe cameras at the corner. The speed limit on that road is 25 miles an hour, and nobody does 25. It's 55 or 60 or more all the time. And if you had cameras up, you've got more than enough money to pay for whatever you need to do there.
Reflective tape along the guardrails is something that would be our next step. Obviously, we did the flashing signs, you know, having those and not just gray where it kind of blends in. I will say a couple other communities, and we do have a resident in Bedford that lives on a turn. She did, and some homeowners do not like this. Actually, I think there was, if it was Cleveland Heights or not, there was decorative boulders that they utilized in their front lawns.
We've done that at some points, but we've also been warned against it, that becomes a liability.
Correct, it is.
And is it an issue of, if it's on the tree lawn and somebody hits it, it's like, okay, but if we put it,
no,
because that goes back to the other thing, we're not so concerned about the guardrail that came down today as much as to prove a point that we still need the one that initiated this whole thing. The one next to the neighbor, there's still nothing there. And I talked to him today, I'd always been told that the reason there wasn't one there is because he didn't want it. And he told me today, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but that he was told years ago, when they first put them up, that everybody had to sign some sort of liability, that if anybody hit it, they were responsible. the neighbors all signed it, he refused to. I don't know what that's about. But if you decide a guardrail goes there, it'll go there, right, regardless of what the homeowner wants.
Not necessarily,
Really?
yeah.
Because none of us want it there, except you have to have it.
Yeah, yeah, not necessarily. I'd have to obviously talk with the law director and then the engineer about that, though. But we're aware, and I think obviously the one that was damaged today, I am in favor of getting that replaced.
Do you have any,
How about
it's
moving
not a
down?
sure thing? It's
Well,
not
I
a,
think
sh-
it's,
it's not a sure thing that it's going back up?
No, I would like to think that, yes, we are gonna put that back up, yes. I mean, I can tell you the state, as much as, that I was in favor of initially, as I shared in your emails, all of the traffic data, all of the accidents, all of that, and yes, it seems like the last 18 months has been significant, right? I think we're at 6 or 7 incidents in a 2-year span. Couple of them, when you actually, the ones were coming the opposite way, the data, and again, I'm just sharing what was shared to me, the data does not, it says it's not a warranted location for one. That is what was presented to me.
what,
Over the course of, you can't take what has happened over a 2-year period, when you look at a wide range in traffic and how many people travel that space, it's not a warranted.
I get what you're saying.
And I'm not saying that's my point, I'm just sharing, that is what is, all of that was included in, that it's not warranted. The amount of accidents, you have to look at each specific individual accident. If you look at each specific individual accident, it actually came down to 4 that those guardrails actually saved, it may be going through. The other ones, it wouldn't have mattered, because out of those 7 total, 2 of them were on the other side of the road that did not even hit that area. So it came down to, we went back, I think, 5 years, and there were 4 accidents. So when you look at the amount of traffic patterns and all of that, I'm just sharing accidents that were reported to the police department that are documented. Again, I'm just sharing, this isn't my position, but, there were 4 documented accidents that impacted that guardrail. Obviously, there was we know about the fatality, but when you look at that over a long-range period, over the amount of traffic that's traveled, 1, it came back to me, listen, it's not warranted along that whole bend all the way down to the bridge. And then 2, if you were to install them, you have to install them per the current ODOT state guidelines of the guardrails that, they come up. So if a driver would miss, let's say they're going off the road where a driveway is, it's gonna stop. And they're not gonna enter a front yard or a porch or anything like that. If you would do that, you have to eliminate the public walk on that bend. I don't think that's the answer either. Because I think you get more people walking in the street. And now we're really, that creates a second hazard. So I'm not debating. I'm in agreement, I understand that concern there. And it's our intent to replace that one. But as far as expanding and doing, it's a little more complicated than that.
Question, wouldn't it be like grandfathered in based on how they were initially installed? As far as the one that should have been next door, it should have been the same as all the rest of them. So why couldn't you put it in like those? And then the second point is, the data you're talking about is all based on police reports. I can't tell you how many are, first of all, they're just bouncing off those guardrails left and right, and other ones that go through the driveway and drive through the neighbor's yard and out the next driveway. And you're saying 4 over 5. There's 4 over the last, since June. There's been 4 accidents plus probably half a dozen bouncers.
I would tell you that gentleman that turfed yours, or almost hit your house, he's in jail for 177 days because he went AWOL. He got sentenced today. I just happened to communicate with her last week about this, and I didn't know this. Obviously, didn't know this was going to happen. But he's in jail.
It's about time.
Yes, they've been very patient with him. I apologize you couldn't get the money from him, but
Well, at least one person's being
maybe
held
it'll send a
responsible.
message to some people to.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, thank you,
We'll hopefully get that replaced soon.
thank you.
Any news on the one, but at this point, the one that we've been requesting, you cannot do that
I don't
unless
think
it's
we
good.
can forcefully put it there. Like I said, I'd have to check with the engineer and our law director on that.
And what about the individual, what if we put something up there? Is that legal, and what's the liability?
In your front yard, you can,
Free lawn front yard, or just?
not on the tree lawn, not on the tree lawn, in your front yard. But like we spoke, the engineer spoke with another resident here, I know Cleveland Heights, they were doing like decorative boulders. The way it was presented, you know, anybody can sue anything for anything.
There's,
Unfortunately. So I'm not a lawyer, I'm not giving advice or not. Personally, I put boulders in my front yard. I would. I would have decorative landscaping and I would do that. Because again, someone can, you know, again, I'm not a lawyer and today.
one of the neighbors there has a double driveway, and so sometimes, even when both sides are protected by a guardrail, they just come through the driveway. We're wondering what's the liability issues on putting up your own gate at the level of the tree lawn? Is that?
Not on, you'd have to have it on your side of the
Oh, on the other side of
sidewalk.
the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Well, that could work.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I get it. I feel bad for him.
Anyone else? Seeing none, have a motion for adjournment.
Fluharty, second by Janutus. Call the roll, please.
Cochee,
Yes.
Yes.
Spinks, Janutus,
Yes.
Fluharty, Smith,
Yes.
Asbury,
Yes.
Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming. Go Browns.